So good evening, everybody. Welcome to Freed to Heal. We come together. We are formerly incarcerated, loved ones, children, anybody affected by the criminal justice system. And we come together to try to heal the ravages of what mass incarceration has done to us as individuals, as well as our families, communities, neighborhoods, and even the country as a whole. And so there was a concept that I wanted to, that just was about to discuss with the group. And I realized I better make sure that we record this because this is really important. So, in a class that I was teaching at Folsom Prison last week, a gentleman asked the group a question. And he wanted to know, of the people who were there, did any of them, before they became incarcerated, ask people coming home from prison, what do I expect when I get there? What do I expect when I go to prison? This is him as a child, as a young person, as a preteen, asking people coming home from incarceration what to expect when I get there. And he asked me the question because he wanted to know what I felt about the power of words as a concept. And I told him, I said, it's really, really important. And I was explaining to him that by him in his mind, from the time he was a child, preparing to be incarcerated, he was preparing for his time in incarceration, that he produced the incarceration that he's now living today. So it caused another young man to say, and mind you, the cold part about it was 2 or 3 other guys raised their hands. They always talked about it. And what I wanted to talk to you about, Mr. Bradley, was the one guy who said that his mother, all of the pattern in his family was they make a baby, get somebody pregnant, and then get a long stretch in prison. And that he has a life sentence. He started doing time at 14. He has a long time in prison. His younger brother, just got a long term in prison. And his mother is telling him, I got to start putting money aside for your little brother. And the little brother is 6 years old.
Wow.
She is preparing for her 6-year-old to have to need bail money. Well, also in this conversation, Mr. Bradley, he tells us that they were talking obviously about relationships and the kind of women that they attract and why they attract these things. And the guy says, well, normally I attract the kind of girl, she's all tatted up like me and this and that. And whenever I talk to normal women, it doesn't go well. I don't feel like they understand me. I said, normal? Well, wait, hold it. What do you mean normal? Normal women, what is it that's abnormal about you and the women? It's not because they have tattoos. All kind of normal people have tattoos. But what is
Right,
it
right.
that you consider abnormal? So that concept, when you just said that, you the normal people, Mr. Bradley, and
Yeah,
everybody else
yeah.
is something.
I'm normal because the reality of life I'm facing, the reality of life. I face it. I look at myself in a way that, you know, anything can happen if I start living a negative lifestyle. Now, this young man and his family, I see from my point of view, they've been taught negativity. They've been living a negativity life of violence or criminal activity. When you live in that type of lifestyle, you know one day you're going to get caught and you're going to go to prison. And so to see that and know that, and I guess that's normal to her living that type of lifestyle, having kids, gang banging, robbing, selling drugs. You know, they know one day we're going to get caught. And so I want to know how it is in prison. What I got prepared for, because this role I'm taking this negative lifestyle road down, to prison or to death. And the girls he messed with the tattoos, they also live that type of negative life. And, gang banging and all this other type of stuff. Now, the girls who he say is normal, he don't get along with because they trying to do something positive. He don't know nothing about being positive. He don't want to live in that positive lifestyle and better himself because the only thing he's been knowing while growing up is a lifestyle of living. And so when I say normal, me, I'm the only normal one because I look at things for what it is now. I look at a lot of people going through a lot of pain and suffering and acting out because they hurt and stuff like that. They don't know what's going on, how to control themselves, how to control their anger. And they've been out to other people. And so that's what I say, by me looking at reality now, like, wow, if I do this, I do that, this could lead me to. Or, I know why I get angry, that second human emotions and stuff like that. I look at my life a lot differently now because I've been down that road. I don't want to go down that road no more. So my eyes and everything have been open to uh, living life. I also know there's some people in life that's got mental problems. And so I look at them like something must be wrong with this dude mentally because he or she don't really understand what they're doing, or he or she don't know what they're saying to this other person.
But Lionel, this is what I want to say about that though, is that even people, I would like to challenge the concept of it being normal or not normal. I would like to say what you described, maybe it's not maybe it's not healthy, right? Those are not healthy, positive influences, but people live with that. So I just, because when people think that they're not normal, that kind of thought, you think you're normal, right? So that's good. But when people say I'm not normal, the concept of that and what that means in their mind for them and how they begin to function in their lives shows up as not normal. Again, about the power of the words that we choose to use and those things that we choose to think about ourselves and we think about our circumstances, they literally produce our existence. Our thoughts produce words, our words produce actions, and all of those things. Go ahead, James. I see your hand.
But if you think about,
wait 1 second, Lionel. Wait 1 second, Lionel. I'm gonna come right back to you. Go ahead, James.
Well, listening to both of y'all, and you have to really think of the concept when people say normal. What is your normal? Because everybody's normal is something different. My normal was gang banging, dope slanging, chasing women. Another person's normal may be going to church every day. So you have to first find out what they perceive as normal. Then once you figure out what their normal is, then you can justify what it is that's not working or working for you because of your results. What's your what's your what's your reward for your consequence for the action? What's the consequences? Like mine, I thought I was gonna get away all my life because I thought what I was doing was normal. It was every day, just like getting up, putting on a pair of pants. It was what I did every day. So when I went to jail and started challenging some of these beliefs that I learned as normal behavior because everybody in my family went to jail. So when I start challenging these beliefs, now I see that there's an issue with what I perceived as normal. And now I have created a new normal where going to prison is not normal for me no more. Now and staying out of prison is normal. Getting a job is normal. Paying my bills is normal. Living a straight life, a more productive life, to where I'm not hiding my actions from my children because I'm embarrassed is my new normal.
I
So
understand that, but listen, James, this guy was saying that he was the one that wasn't normal. That that's the part that concerned me. It wasn't so much. Go ahead, baby.
But what are you?
Wait. Go ahead, Lionel. Go ahead, Lionel.
When a guy said he's not normal, that's a cry for help. Like an alcoholic or drug addiction person says something's wrong with me. I'm not normal. That's a cry for help. He's looking at himself and saying there's something wrong with me. I'm not normal. I want to change. He's asking for help. Now, if a person is doing crazy, violent stuff and say, "Oh, I'm normal. This is normal," just like James just said. James took the words right out of my mouth. James said everything I wanted to say when he said that, because by us, our past, my past, it wasn't normal. If I said, "Oh, this gang banging and robbing and selling drugs and doing crazy stuff is normal," something's wrong with me. But
But it was
once I said
normal for you at that time, and it's
that,
just not.
like
It's
James
not
said,
anymore.
that's what
Exactly.
James said. The same
Yes.
thing James said is the
Yes.
same thing I'm trying to express. Same thing.
Yes, I got you. I
Yeah.
got you. I hear you, and I understand. But like I said, like I was clarifying with James, my concern was the opposite of that. That it was that somehow he was the abnormal. But I get what you're saying, and I think you're spot on when you say that that is his cry for help. He
Yeah.
recognizes that something wasn't right with him and what he was doing and the way that he was living. But Terrell, I see your hand up.
No, I just wanted to say this, and I ain't trying to be funny or nothing. Normal is, everybody got their own definition of it. And status quo to normal, what is normal in America? What is normal? What's a normal black person? What's a normal white person? What's a normal family? I consider myself an alien. So I know I ain't normal. I know there's some shit going on and it's not regular. You know what I mean? I just know from the energy that I convey, I know what I attract. I know the things that I've done and what I'm doing now. It's not regular. It's not no normal shit. So, I mean, anybody here that can testify that's been to prison, that's not no normal shit. The mentality to go through that type of stuff and still be standing straight up and have a nice thought process and not be mentally fucked up is not a normal thing. So, what is normal? That's all the person's perception and perspective. So, like people say, "Oh, weird, 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 weird." That'd be the first thing come out of some of these people's mouth after they just did 20 weird things. You know what I'm saying? But what's the definition of weird? Different. Something out of the normal. So it's all a wordplay thing with me sometimes, when it
But
comes to different, like friend, love, faith, normal. It's
the
what you
thing
want to
about
call it.
that, the reason that I did want to touch on it is because words do have power, though,
Yes, they do.
and based on this gentleman's perception, because Lionel is so right that this was a cry for help, right? So his perception of what is normal and him being abnormal already sets him at a disadvantage in his life because he's proceeding in his life in such a way that he's abnormal. He's not normal. And therefore, that puts him at a disadvantage. That puts him outside of society. That puts him outside of what's right, probably. So I want us to pay, and the reason I thought it was relevant to have this conversation is the power of the words that we say to ourselves about ourselves. It is not so much it's what you concentrate on, what you focus on. If you remember, what I was saying is how it all came up was another guy asking the other guys, how many of you guys would ask people coming home from prison what to expect when I go to prison? What should I expect when I go? Okay. So that was an automatic assumption for them that they were going to prison. And of the people that raised their hand, they all got life sentences. All of them.
But
So they're, go ahead.
The thing about that is, though, you're asking a grown man who's already incarcerated about life. When you go back to when he was 6 years old, if it was thought about, I was 6 years old. I was already smoking weed. I was doing some bad things, but I was still a kid. And I did see people coming home from prison. But to say, what am I expect to go to prison? That's a whole different mindset. As a
It
kid,
is.
if you a kid and you ask a grown man to come out of prison, what do I expect to go up in there? Because you ain't even got to the point where you old enough to even go to a prison.
I'm
So to
tired
Getting
of
ask that question, it's a lot going on in that home with that kid in between his ears, what he's been
I'm
taught.
telling you, which is why I thought, remember I said to you guys, I don't know whether we're going to record this, but this is very important. I have a friend, and you know this friend died, and they always was telling their grandson, "You so bad, you headed straight to the penitentiary." And I said, I hope they never say that in front of me, because I would stop them from telling that little boy that. Why? Because what you keep pumping into them, they're going to live up to that. Those words matter to people. When you start pumping that into a kid at such a young age, that begins to take shape in them, and they begin to live up to the things that we say they are. If we continue to tell our children that they're smart, that they're this, that they're great in school, or they're going to do wonderful when they go to school, then they're going to try to live up to that. Whatever we feed and whatever seeds we plant, that's what they're going to strive for. And you're right, in this young man's existence, obviously prison was going on all around him. People went to prison. And so, and the one young man that talked about being the other girls being normal, he's been incarcerated since he was 14. So that tells you how young he started. And
Yeah,
He is.
And the thought process for him was that I need to be prepared because I'm going to prison. So
my mama went to prison, my brother's in prison, my family's in prison. I'm destined to be in prison. And for a child to think that their destiny is to be prison is screwing that child's life up, where he's predestined to go because he thinks that that's normal, is to go to prison. See, that became his normal.
yep.
His normal was they took to the prison.
And his
So that
mother
right there,
and his mother is now preparing to have money to put on the books of his 6-year-old little brother,
because
because
they
the other one just
preparing
got a
him.
stretch.
Yeah, they preparing him. They gonna put in him what they put in the other two to send him to prison because she's figured that's the only way she gonna keep her kids safe. Most women is trying to think of a way. And the average woman, and I say average, is trying to figure out how to keep their child out of prison and keep them safe. Whereas you have these mothers that's what I call hoodified, and theirs is when you go to prison, mama gonna be there. Don't lie. You only lie to these people. You don't lie to these people. You stick by the code. You don't tell on nobody. And after a while, guess what? Now his name is Little Crip Tebow or Timo. And guess what? Now he's grooming. They're grooming him for the penitentiary without telling
Absolutely.
him that that's where he's headed. Because guess what? Like you said, the power of words. Not just the power of words, but look at what he sees around him. He's a
Yes.
sponge. He don't have nothing but the concept of prison around him. My
Yeah.
mother had college people. She has mentors. Stuff like I made the choice of doing something at 28 years old. Not at 16 or 14. I knew about prison, but I didn't want to go. I played dodgeball with it. And I used to tell my buddies in prison, man, I threw rocks at the penitentiary so much, somebody actually opened the door and let me in. Now I'm throwing rocks out the penitentiary. Somebody opened the door and let me out. You know, that was my
Mhm.
concept. But the thing is, it took me in there to really dedicate myself to the groups that I went to and the time that I actually put in outside the group to understand that what I thought was normal was abnormal, was antisocial, and I had no way of being productive in society at the rate I was going. I was more faster headed to the cemetery than I was to see my kids graduate.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that came after that because every one of us have had that aha moment when we was in prison, and aha, God damn, this is excuse my language, but this is this is where I'm headed. This is what do I want to keep on this path and be having my mama walk to the cemetery because it already hurt me to have to watch the stuff she got to go through, assassinated by these COs to come see me in here. So do I want my mama to come to the cemetery to put flowers on my grave? Or am I going to change my way of thinking and the way I move in society that I can see my kids grow up to be parents? You know, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what people misplace with that normal and not normal. It's just a perception of what you see around you becomes your normal.
And
It's
I
how you
want and,
groom that becomes your normal.
and my
Well,
purpose for this conversation is that I want people to understand the power of those thoughts and those words. You were about to say something, Mr. Bradley?
yeah, I think normal is normal for that youngster to ask about prison, that ask what you expect, because don't nobody want to go to prison just for the hell of it. But he see a pattern of people going to prison. He probably see a pattern on TV, people going to prison. He probably hear it in music. So he probably asked, if I go to prison, what do I expect?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm asking questions because it's like I want to know what goes on. See, it's like his mind's been open to the think in the future now of what might happen, so he can prepare himself if that do happen. Because I really don't think no one really intend on going to prison unless you want to be some rapper with get a rapper name or some shit like that. But it's normal for a person to ask certain questions. It's normal for a person to ask, what's after death? You know, it's certain things kids ask. You know, curiosity, that's how they grow, by asking certain questions and stuff like that. And that's what they do. It's normal. It's normal to ask crazy, weird questions we might think is weird and crazy. But to a kid, it's something that's knowledge trying to learn
Based on what they see
about
around them.
life.
And I get that. And I get that. And I
Yeah.
understand and I agree with that. What I want us to do is make sure moving forward that we're not putting ourselves, we're not putting our kids, we're not putting our family members in situations, and that we eradicate that behavior as normal, that we take that off the normal list, that that's all they see. Let them see, even if they see it, can they see something else also? Can you take them to another environment as well? Can we expose them to something other than just those things? So that's the importance of this conversation, is that we not only do we let them see, because I'm not a believer in shielding kids and making them think the world is all unicorns, roses, and rainbows, because that's not true either. You need to prepare them to be able
Yeah.
to live no matter what the circumstances are. But at the same time, we don't want to be preparing them or having them to prepare in their minds consistently to go to the penitentiary. That's just it's not what we want to do with our children. And we need to be living that lifestyle such that they get to see and be exposed to something else, because whatever we focus on is what we're going to bring to us. It is the law of attraction of the universe. It's not a religious thing. It's not any of those things. It's just the truth. It's a fact that whatever you focus on is what you're going to have, is what you're going to produce in your life. If you think about people who work out 4 times a day, what do they have? Lean bodies with all kinds of muscles, right? Because they focus on that. They spend their time, their energy, and effort into making that happen. So what we focus on, and I want us to anybody that might hear this, if you've been telling your kids, you so bad, why are you so bad? Why are you always being bad? Y'all think that's cute. No, it's not cute. It's not cute. Stop telling them they're bad. And if they're doing something that you perceive as bad, then stop them from doing that. But don't reward it with laughter and all of that. Go ahead, Mr. Tillman.
It's all a perception of how you were raised and who you were raised by, because words do matter. And you keep telling little kids they bad, they gonna live up to being bad, and vice versa. But for a kid to ask about prison, you got to be being trained to do criminal activity, the conversation. I mean, because it just that's just a whole lot. That has to be a whole bunch of negative thought process and conversation to that child to even ask what do I expect? And you
Right.
6 years old, you ain't old enough to go. But I mean, words really matter, and words are powerful, and that's why I tell people the yin and the yang. We all think we all have it, but it's what do you harp on? What do you think
Yes.
of? What do you think of? What do you speak on? That's going you gonna speak it into existence. So, when people say claim it, claim something positive and
Or
you go after
negative.
it. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? But you got people like me. Back in the day, I told one of my homies, I know when I go to jail, I'm gonna go for a long time because I've been out here doing some shit. I didn't think it was gonna be 12 years, but it was. And when I got in there, I was like, God, you really gonna have me do 10 years straight? And God was like, yeah, motherfucker, you earned this. You said it. So it was just a matter of, but I was living that life. I was doing those things to bring that 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 sentence to come about. And I talked it into existence. I did all those actions. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of, the belief system and how you was raised and who you was raised by. And that's just it's not normal if it's some people that never went to prison or whatever, but if it's people that continues to go to prison, that's the normalcy in that environment.
Right. Absolutely. Miss Di,
Yes. Hello. How is everyone doing?
how are
She
you?
quiet, leave her alone.
You know what?
You can't do nothing to me right here.
I'm gonna let that slide. I'm gonna let it slide. I'm gonna let it slide. How are you everyone doing today? I'm sorry I overstepped a little bit, but I'm here.
That's okay. That's okay. I wanted to have your voice in the room. See what's going on with you. What you thinking about the conversation?
Oh, I was thinking about a lot of stuff. Cause like you said, like for me, I have a son. I have two sons. They're one is incarcerated still. One had to went to the county jail. He's never been to prison or nothing like that. But those are the choices that they made. That wasn't the choices that I made. Those wasn't the things that they were around. Because I don't have a family that comes from a background of going to penitentiaries and stuff like that. So, like they told me that, Mama, those are choices that we made. Because I made sure I kept a positive atmosphere, even though, because I grew up in South Central, first of all. So you have to keep a positive, something positive in your own life growing up here anyway. You know what I'm saying? I've never been and got in any trouble like that. You know what I'm saying? So by me being positive already, but I was around negativity, I was around violence even in my own home, but that was not my choice. That was not my choice to repeat that. You know what I'm saying? I chose not to repeat it. So a lot of things is about your choice. If those are choices you make, of course, you got to pay the consequences for it one day.
Yep.
That's just the end of it. That's how it goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Hall, chime in. Talk to me.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a good subject. Like you said, your words do matter. I got it. I really got what you was trying to say on that. As far as where the energy you put out there is usually what you attract. And for me, growing up, once I joined the gang, I knew I was going to prison
Mm,
because that was the conversation we had. We was committing crimes. So
mm,
my homies is getting out of jail. I see this. So I understood I was going to prison. I was willing to accept those consequences. And when you're willing to accept those consequences, then you're basically saying that you're going to go to prison. Now I'm not willing to accept those consequences. And I'm saying that. So I know I'm not going to go to prison because that's the energy I'm pushing. So
right.
I totally get what you're saying, and I get the part when you was talking about parents. That parents got to be careful with doing it because you was mentioning the boy was 6 years old. So apparently it was some adults that was putting this stuff in his head. So I was getting all of that.
Yeah, because honestly, again, having a friend telling their 3-year-old grandson, "You so bad, you headed straight for the penitentiary."
Right.
That, like, you saying that as a joke, but you don't know that in the child's mind, they're taking that in.
They taking it
They're
in.
absorbing that and believing that that's what it should be because that's where I'm headed. And I understand the normal the normal nature of it being whatever is around you a lot becomes normal to you. It becomes familiar. There are people that live in abusive, violent homes, and that becomes normal behavior to them. That
Right.
doesn't mean that that's what they want or that they like it, but it's also what they know. It's what's familiar to them. And so for them, that becomes their normal. Terrell, you had your hand raised.
I mean, just think about it. As a kid, we all have a whole different creative thought process. We got imaginary friends. We can hear, we can see better, you know, because our senses are more in tune because we're more pure as a kid, right? Mm-hmm. So if a kid is thinking about if a kid is asking that question about what is it gonna be like when I get there, that means they didn't just took that whole kid's childhood imaginary.
Isn't that something?
And they just took his data out and put this bullshit data in, excuse my language, but straight BS, because the kid has imaginary senses and sights and playing. So to ask about what it's gonna be like when I get to prison,
that's tragic when you think about it. It's tragic.
I can't even fathom that a kid would ask something like that.
Terrell, excuse me, Terrell, but that's going on nowadays.
I mean, now, no, I'm saying it's going on now, but I'm saying as a kid, and as an adult,
I'm saying with kids, it's going on with kids now. I mean, it's this kid, like, you know the work I do, right?
Now
it's this kid, he's like 9 years old. He's claiming A-Tray gangster. He's smoking weed. He's doing all kind of stuff. He's on Facebook. It's crazy. So I'm seeing this now. I was like you at first, like, this is crazy. But now I'm starting to see this stuff.
No, it's out here, bro. But I'm saying the point I'm making is this, bro. It exists all day long. Yes. I was that kid that was claiming a set before I was 10 years old, gang banging, and doing all that crazy stuff. But I was an exception to the rule. Now it's the norm.
It's starting to be the rule.
It's the normal. It's the normal. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. The thing for it.
And why I think it's so important, Michael, is because thankfully you're there, and this conversation, you know, you can start to steer his thoughts in a different direction. And I know you have to send him back into his home, right? Which is always the difficulty when you're working with people's children, is that you can help clean them up, and then you send them back into their home, and the damage is reinstalled or whatever happens. But at least if there's a seed planted that there is potentially another way, because a child's psyche is, as Terrell discussed, is pure and is easily influenced. And if you give them something else to think about other than the negativity, then maybe one day somebody else might water that seed, and then one day they may get the increase, and the flower may grow. You know, it may sprout flowers, because now I know I don't have to live like this. I don't have to do what everybody else is doing, because Mr. Michael told me that I could do something different, that I can actually live a different life. Mr. Michael told me that all of this A-Tray gangster stuff ain't really amount to what I thought it was going to amount to, or what I would think it is, or it's not this, or it's not that, having lived it, experienced it, and been through the whole cycle of all of it. So again, the importance of this conversation is to know that the words that we speak to ourselves, about ourselves, the words that we speak to our children, all of those things matter, and they make a difference. Lionel, did you want to say something?
Yeah. The reality is, with me, I met people in prison who was innocent, didn't do their crime, with life sentence. So to say you could steer a person from not going to prison is untrue, because some people haven't did anything, as we see on TV.
Oh yeah,
they've been getting out of prison because of some group that got them out of prison, found out. No. See, we go through that. Now, I have my son. My son came to see me one day in prison, and he asked me questions about prison. And I told him. He said, "What goes on with?" I said, "Look, people get raped in here, people get abused in here, all kinds of different things. You don't see your family in here. You miss so much in life. Your life, you have no life. You get just mistreated, dogged out, unhuman, humiliated." These are things I was explaining to my son that would happen to you in prison, that happen to people in prison. So the glorified, they got to see the negative, the hurt, how much you will miss your family, how much you will miss his family, his mother, whatever else, the cousins and stuff, like things he cannot do no more in life in prison. These are the things these kids got to hear of the
Yes.
suffering. It's not a place that you want to be. It's not a place to be glorified and stuff like that. And these are
Yes.
things that still help steer a kid away from prison the best he can or she can and stuff. Because it's like sometimes they get glorified, and like I said, some people's in prison for something they never did before. And so by that kid asking, you want to know what will he expect if he go. I ain't gonna say that kid wanted to go to prison because I don't know nobody who really wanted to go to prison.
Well, it was just what was expected. I mean, for him, it was just what he expected based on his life experience and those people that were around him. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because what we do is we start saying that and continuing that conversation and going down that road, and it leads to exactly what we think it will. So it makes a difference what it is that we're saying to ourselves, about ourselves, what we're saying about our existence, what we're saying about the world around us, what we're saying and teaching to other people. Again, it's what we focus on, and we have the ability to change what that is. So people like this young man, he appears to be probably in his early 30s at this point. And he has a choice, he has an opportunity now to change his thoughts. And my whole goal and purpose in being in there and teaching him would be to help him to see a different way, to have a different kind of relationship. I even encouraged him when it came to women to try to start reading books and things about stuff that he's not interested in. Why? So that he can expand his conversation just from hood conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he wants to attract a different kind of woman, he got to be a different kind of man. He got to have a different conversation. He has to be able to talk to them. And he's apparently able to even attract a different kind of woman. He just is not, he just feels insecure, I think, about not being able to have conversations about things that are not hood related, if I can say it that way. And that is from the existence of his entire life. And it's just tragic to me that there are people who grew up believing that prison was the natural outgrowth of the life that they lived, and that by their families, this is what their families did, and that this is what they should expect. So I think, Miss Roberta, any thoughts from you, sweetie? Miss Roberta?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Otis?
You're breaking up.
Okay. I was just trying to find out if you had heard in the conversation, where did you have any thoughts about the power of our words and our thoughts and everything to affect and produce the life that we live?
Well, that it would help the young people if we share our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions with them, and our experiences in prison and everything would bring a light to the situation.
Absolutely. And I want to see.
Most of them aren't open to hear, though.
Huh?
I said most of them aren't open to hear.
Yeah, no, I guess it's their circumstances, I'm suspecting. That circumstance, everything around them is what it is, and so they're not believing. But I think we should still be trying. I think it's certainly something that we definitely want to encourage, is a different way. Yes, sir, Mr. Terrell.
And something else that's very that I know, there's not been a form yet that's been put together to actually display the pain and hurt and the suffering that when you go to prison there for a long time, what it does to you and what it does to your family. See, them conversations ain't been had. Them TV interviews ain't been said, because they all want to say, "Oh, well, this is the success story and this that story,"
right?
But don't nobody talk about the pain.
That's what Terrell. That's what I want to do my series on. I told you that, didn't I?
And it's not to make anybody feel less or smaller, but this is the part that doesn't get displayed, so the kids know it's not cool to go to prison, bro.
Yeah.
They
You just
see the
motivated me
success.
even more.
They see the success stories of people that come home from prison and say, "Oh, they did that. I probably can do it too." They did. They went to prison. Now look at them. Because if you look at the United States, there are so many prevalent people who have been incarcerated, especially blacks, but a lot of prevalent people who have been incarcerated, and some of the finest on the planet. And then when they come home and they be success stories, you never hear about the pain. Even if in their story it might be a little bit smidge out of 30 minutes, it might be 2 minutes of the bullshit. Excuse my language, but the pain and suffering. You know what I'm saying? The tear jerking stuff. The stuff that really is serious that the kids don't hear. They see us shining and doing well for ourselves. Yeah. So they think, oh, I can make it too. That's easy. If look at them. Yeah, we're examples. We're examples of it can be done, but we're not saying go do it, because you might not make it through. It's people. See, they don't hear about the people that don't make it through. They don't hear about that pain and suffering that really, really happens in there. That really needs to be expressed so they can hear that side. And like I said, the media, and I'm not even gonna say the media, because guess what? We control the narrative. We haven't talked about it. You know what I mean? Because like this is gonna be recorded. Somebody gonna see this and continue to have those conversations about the pain and suffering to deter the kids. I don't never glorify, but we need to show that side of it and how it affects our children. The volume is going down.
Not just to tell the story about the crime, et cetera, but to talk about the devastation to not just the victim's family, but the perpetrator's families, because everybody in society is touched by this, and we're living with the results of it and the ripple effects of it, but we don't talk about it. And I think you're right, Terrell. It will also serve as a deterrent for a kid who may not think that it's a big deal for them. Like, I'm willing to sacrifice my life to claim whatever hood they want to claim, but they're not thinking about, nor do they pay attention to, because nobody's telling them all the pain and suffering that their mothers and their cousins and their sisters lived through as a result of them being incarcerated. Daj, your hand up, honey. Daj, did you want to say something?
We did talk about this a little bit last week, Terrell, which wasn't on here. We talked about this a lot last week, about the pain and suffering that the loved ones go through from someone being incarcerated, about the phone calls, the going to visiting, all kind of things like that. You don't have that much longer talk on the phone, so you try to keep the phone calls light. When you do go visit, you try to keep the visit light, because you know what I'm saying, you don't want to bring them down, because you're already sad, you're already depressed when you're already getting up here to go up here to visit them in the first place. They sad and depressed. I know my son be sad to see me, happy to see me come, but he's sad to see me leave. You know what I'm saying? But we did talk about that. I talk about that all the time. How much I hate going to the prisons. My son, I tell them, they know I hate going there, but I have to go there because he's there.
And the thing about it is that it needs to be more prevalent, like Terrell is saying. That side of it needs to be expressed more, and the information needs to be available to more people, because there are a lot of people that are living the consequences of it. And a lot of young kids are still starting to, claiming to be gang banging and all of this kind of stuff. They claim in the hood and all that. And it leads to bad things for them. And they don't understand the consequences for their family. They may be willing to accept the consequences, they think, but they don't know what them, for example, I'll say, okay, I'm okay. I know I may go to prison because that's part of the lifestyle I'm living, but they don't know that the effect that them going to prison will have on their entire family.
Right.
And while they may not care about it for them, they may care about it for the sake of their family. And I'm going to give Rufus, you just I don't know if you had been able to hear anything or not, but I know you multitasking. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to chime in if you had any thoughts on the conversation. Were you able to really listen to us, or?
No, absolutely. I heard everything, and I pretty much agree with. I like what Mike said and what Terrell said, and that's about, I think normal is what normal does, and that means for me is it depends on the person. I mean, if you feel like that's normal for you, then it's normal. You know what I mean? But I like what Mike said in terms of you have to be careful of what you tell yourself because you know your perception is your reality. You know
Yes,
what I
it
mean?
does.
And if you telling yourself that, I mean, we all grew, well, not all of us, a lot of us grew up believing that we going to jail. You know, that was an option. That was a reality. It's more than an option. It was a reality because the things that we was doing, we was trying to escape the possible. I mean, the chances of going to jail, but
We're
everything we're
high.
doing was sent it, was on the road to going to jail. So I'm like everybody else. I was telling myself, thinking like the guy you talked to before. I was thinking like, how am I going to survive in prison when I get to prison? What are my expectations of when I get to prison? I'm on the street though. I'm on the street at the time. Knowing if I get caught, how am I going to be able to do time? Or not how, but you when I
What will
say
it be
how, I
like?
mean like
Yeah.
yeah, what it's gonna be like for me. You know what I mean? So this is a good conversation to have. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because
It's a real
I
good
want us
conversation to have.
again, I want us to change as best as we can in any opportunities that we have to change that narrative, particularly for young people.
Right,
I want us to give them something else to think. I want us to give them another way of looking at it. I want us to begin to show them that they don't have to do what's always
right.
been done.
And that's why I feel like I do want to talk to at-risk youth and our young people because not only have I lived the consequences of my behavior, I'm still living the consequences
Yep.
of that. And who else
Yeah.
who else better to tell, the raw reality of what the consequences of certain behavior than the people
And lived it.
that
Exactly. Exactly.
lived it and they're still living it. You know what I mean? So,
And I think
it's
Terrell, that's so
important.
true.
It's real important.
And Terrell is so true that
All of us,
if people had
all
many
of us
years
on this
ago,
screen that's been in prison, we all went to juvenile hall.
Right,
wow,
Right? Right?
right,
Right?
right.
wow, right.
And never
And it's
went to
important
prison. We
and it's
still with us,
important
like you
that
said. To this
and it's
day.
important what you say though, Terrell, is that there was only a certain portion of the story that you guys got to hear. In other words, you didn't hear all of the other devastation. It wasn't talked about as much, the devastation to your children. I mean, when I think about that young man saying that the men in his family, the history was to get somebody pregnant and then go to jail for a long stretch. Just think about the devastation to all of their children, right? All of that matters. So I'm gonna ask everybody for last comments. And then we're gonna move on. I'm going back to my vacation, y'all.
That's right.
Enjoy your
I only had
vacation.
like I had y'all, and we gotta get this in every week because oh my gosh, it's important. I definitely want to make sure that we had this conversation. Terrell, any last comments from you, sweetie? Terrell,
Um, like this. Can you hear me?
I
I
can't.
Can
can
y'all hear
hear
me?
you.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Everybody can hear me? That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
hear you,
Yeah,
Terrell. She
we
said
can hear
last
you.
though. Hey,
No, I mean, speak
damn.
the wise words to the youth. You know what I mean, and let them know the seriousness of it. Because I mean, I know I do, and I let people know this ain't cool at all. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
what I'm pushing. Everybody be safe. I love y'all. I've been doing other stuff. I've been busy, so it's been going down, but it's going positive, going up. You know what I'm saying? So
thank
I'm finna be looking for some staff too. So I'm gonna be, you know,
Oh,
I'm gonna be looking for some staff. And you talking about you want to talk to the youth? We can get
Call
you
on us. Yeah,
youth.
call on us.
Right,
Absolutely, I want to talk to the youth.
I'll be right there. Well, look, you ain't
Not a problem. Look, what you just said, that I can make that happen like yesterday. So that's not a problem. You want to talk to some youth, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
Youth, that's not a problem either.
Hey,
They got, right now, man, they can't pay some people to go work with them kids.
okay. Mr. Otis, any final comments from you?
No, I think that we should raise our children to understand that breaking the law and going to prison is not a good idea.
Yeah.
That we ought to be out there to help other people, and instead of just looking after our only self and not have consideration over others.
Thank you. Rufus, final comments.
My final comment, I appreciate the conversation, and like they said, I just say let's talk to our youth and be mindful of what we tell them and what we put in their heads and what we show them.
Thank you so much, Lionel.
Thank you.
Yeah, on some real shit, excuse my language, but right before I came out of prison, I was talking to the Bloods, I was talking to the Crips. I was talking to them about doing something positive with the organization. Instead of fighting one another, I said, look at reality, what we up against to come together and do something positive with the game. Now, before I was talking to the youth, let's talk to the adults too, because the youth like to listen to the adults, the ones that call themselves the OGs and all that. They listen to them better than listen to some strangers. So we got to talk to the adults and making something positive out of this game. Stop people fighting one another.
Thank you, Di.
I enjoyed the conversation tonight, and like everyone said, is talk to the. It's good to be upfront with them and to give them information that they ask us for, because sometimes it will help. Because someone might be telling them, it might look like it's okay, to look like it's cool to do and all that, but it's not. So just keep talking to you, like they say, just keep talking to them because they need us.
Hello?
I think it went off.
Last comments?
Oh.
Who are you talking to?
You, Michael.
Oh, no, I couldn't hear you. That's why I said hello. But yeah, it was a good conversation, good topic. And as long as we keep putting this type of energy out, we're going to have an impact. So
that's for sure. Roberta. James. Roberta, go ahead, Roberta.
I'm sorry, I was on the call.
No problem.
Good night. Good night, all.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us, James. All right, we're going to let James go.
Enjoy the ATL.
Check us out as always. Free to Heal on Instagram.
James sleep.
Oh wow, he sleep.
Y'all know what
yeah,
to do. Y'all know what to do.
Oh no.
Got that narcolepsy, and he's somewhere in the park.
Yeah.
Call him out and wake him up, okay? But listen, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Check us out. Leave us comments. Leave us any topics you want to talk about. And we just think we want to make sure that our community is better for these conversations. This isn't just to get together to be seen. This is so that we can really heal and things that we can do to help our communities. And I just want to say thanks to everybody for being here. And we'll see y'all next week on Free to Heal.